Interesting.
很累 actually 讲到这个还比我累，可以懂你吗
Hello.
Good morning, Jeremy.
Good morning, Maddy.
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great, as always. Coming in on a Sunday morning to record our podcast. It's becoming my regular thing, It's like...
Oh, yes. It's
Yeah.
always also become my regular thing. So we are at season 2. Still can't believe that it's season 2, right?
Yes, and I can't believe that we are already into 2024.
Oh, Year of Dragon.
Time flies! You're the dragon, yes.
And today we are doing our episode 3 for season 2. And what are we talking about?
Today's episode is quite interesting. We're going to talk about the topic on micro habits.
Okay.
Why are we talking about it?
I think this was a request, right? Or something that our listener has...
是吗?
Yeah, I remember when we were doing our episode 1 and there was a feedback given by one of our listeners.
I think so.
And then there was some discussion. And so basically, some of the inspiration behind why we decided to do certain topics is really coming from you.
Yes.
Coming from all of you.
That's right.
Friends and families, and they has reached out to us saying that how this podcast has helped you.
Yes.
And want to make sure you want to pay forward and do something that resonates with you.
Exactly. And I think obviously when you're listening to the podcast, you have thoughts on your own, your reflections on your own. Please share them with us. We're very happy to receive them. And of course, when you have any ideas for the podcast, any topics that you have a burning passion for or you want to hear, we would love to talk about it because clearly if it relates to you, it relates to us.
Yes,
right?
and ultimately, the Improv and Remove, we just want to share more stories.
Yes.
And because we believe that stories can lift people around us and, please, like what Jeremy say, share with us whatever you want to hear.
Yes.
And today we talk about micro habits.
Micro habits. Yes.
And, okay, so why we want to talk about micro habits? Because we want to make achieving goals easy.
And I think micro habits is, so personally for me, I've learned to realize that, why micro?
Yeah, why?
Because I think a lot of the growth in my life, right, I think takes place in the very small things. So as I go along in my career and in my life and all that, I realize that if you really pay attention to the small things and you get those small things right, in the long run, they're really going to make huge improvements to your life.
Yeah.
And I realized that it's not about, it's not about the next fad of a blue ocean thinking or a 5 steps framework to change your life and all that. I mean, I'm sure there's a time and space for that. But I really realized that the foundation of just making these micro habits work for you really add up in the long run.
And then that's why, I think this habits was so commonly heard, right? You hear about Atomic Habits, I think a very famous book, Atomic Habits, micro habits, nano habits. You don't hear things like macro habits. but what you say is that to achieve the big things, the big goals, we have to look into the very, very, very small day-to-day things that we are doing.
Yes,
And
totally.
that's what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to share the top 3 worst habits first.
Yes.
So each of us has 3, and then we will talk about our top 3 habits that's serving us or works for us.
Correct.
And obviously then we'll share tips, because I think we were discussing it and then we realized it got some similarities.
Yes. I want to talk about also one more reason why we want to talk about this micro habits, because it's a Year of Dragon and Chinese New Year is in this season, right? And
just over. By the time they hear this, just over. Is it over? I think just over.
差不多啦。 And I think Chinese New Year we all have this practice to 大扫除, like clean up, take stock, clean off and throw away those things.
Your yearly ritual to clean up the house and all that.
So this is like a Chinese practice. For those who don't celebrate
cleaning.
Chinese New Year, is spring cleaning.
Yes.
Basically, it's a practice where we just throw away the things that we don't want, make our house nice and clean, and get ready to usher in the year of the new year, which is the Year of Dragon.
Yes.
And I think it's also an opportunity for us to take stock of the habits that's not serving us. And then just decide to, and then just dispose them.
Exactly. And I like how you talked about spring cleaning actually being a really good habit as well. Because I think when you start to declutter, when you start to, have new things for the new year, it also symbolizes that, you are ready to take on your new opportunities and new stuff, right? In the new year.
Yes. So spring cleaning can be a very good micro habit too.
I
Spring
know.
clean your habits.
Thank God it's only once a year.
That's why we also want to share some of the habits that we used to have that's not serving us, because no shame about it. We all been through different seasons of our life.
Yep.
There's certain things that we were doing all along that we didn't know that it's bad until we realize that, until we spring clean it away.
Yes. Yeah, I think being aware is key. So today we were very aware of what we want to bring to the table, and hopefully it will help you to start thinking about what micro habits you can either pick up or habits that don't serve you. You can start thinking about how you can work, get them out of your life, or have a better habit to replace them.
Yes.
Okay, who should we start?
Okay. Let me start with the first one. This one was when I was a bit younger.
Okay.
My weekend. Wake up late is number one.
Okay.
Number one bad my habit, and I wake up without a plan. And I just waste my weekend away. I don't know what to do with it. Like just hours just slip past. So unproductive.
Okay. That sounds like you're speaking from a very productive personality.
And this was the younger version of me, whereby you just wake up and like laze around, do nothing, and at the end of the day, weekend's over, then Monday starts.
Right.
So this bad habit that I want to highlight is waking up late. One. Number two is waking up without a plan. I don't know what to do. Yeah.
So when you do that, how does that make you feel about the weekend?
I feel that I've wasted. It's like I think nothing accomplished, no wins, no nothing. Very mundane. And then by the time comes Monday starts, then there'll be this Monday blues happening also. Monday blues happening because of my weekend being so unproductive. Yeah.
But then somebody may also say, but then I wanna take the weekend to relax and to recharge for the week.
Yeah.
I guess that's okay as well, but maybe it's just a different way of spending the weekend.
Yeah, I think it's just the intent. There's no intent, so there's no plan to relax. So this bad habit I used to have is just waking up, not knowing what to do, not taking charge, not realizing that actually to have plans you need to plan them in advance. And that will be one of the good habits I will talk about later. But it's really like no plans, no nothing. Nothing is being done on my schedule.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. Being intentional. Yeah, so being intentional even though you may not plan to do anything, but it's intentional about your time being like, for example, to take it to recharge or to relax. And I think that being intentional is the key thing here.
Yeah, and I think the worst feeling is after the weekend is passed, then you feel that, what have I done now? Time passed by so fast. Then you feel quite lousy about yourself. Yeah, and but that can be worked around if we do some planning.
Sure. Okay.
Wow,
interesting.
累 actually. 讲到这个 habit 我累，可以倒你吗？
Yeah, well, I guess so. Maybe for you feel that if you are when you're wasting time, then it feels like you've wasted. You feel tired. I mean, we do get tired sometimes from just watching too much Netflix.
Yeah, not doing anything is tiring.
I
do.
My
God, you're right.
I honestly do feel that. But I think it's because we are, similar. maybe right. You don't do an anagram thing, so you're profiling. So I think we're similar. But yes, but maybe to a certain time, and they may not feel that way. But I think the key thing here is really about being intentional about what you want to do.
Yes, and taking charge. Yeah. Okay, can I pass the ball to you?
Oh, okay. Also, okay, you want to share? Okay, good. So you do this way, huh?
Yes.
One by one.
Okay, so what is one bad habit that you used to have that is not serving you?
Okay, the first one for me is not okay. It's called it's a negative recurrent self-talk. I think sometimes and you probably have faced this, right?
Yes.
You would think about like out of the blue, suddenly you'll be doing something and go like, that time I didn't do this. I failed to do this. Or like somebody said this about me and I'm still feeling it. Right? And then it just comes back to you time and again, and you don't realize that, and you're going like, and then your thoughts are going down the spiral in the same way, in the same recurrent thought pattern. And sometimes you just let it go and you don't address it, and you just let it kind of go in the background, but you don't realize that sometimes it just affects your mood throughout the rest of the day. And I think that's something that I have noticed for myself. Probably happens to quite a lot of us, and it often catches you when you're unaware of it, and then you go like, what's happening? And you have to snap yourself out of it. But I found a way to kind of, at least a tool in my toolkit to address that.
And I like it that this sharing from you on a micro habit that's not serving you what I'm hearing is a negative self-talk.
Yes.
So habit may not be something that you do, right? And right now we're talking about habit is something that you talk to yourself in your mind. It's a mind activity. Yeah. I'm curious, at which point did you notice that you have this self-talk? Because I'm sure that it happens in all of us, in our brain, right? Like we talk to ourselves, it's very normal, but like when do you notice that it's not serving you?
I think, I always believe it's about awareness. And I think you're also, into the habit of meditation. So I think it's me when I started doing a bit of meditation and learning to be more connected with myself. then you start observing that, oh, actually I've got all these like negative self-thoughts that are happening. And the problem with these negative self-thoughts are they're recurring. And it's often the same incident that triggered that memory, or the same incident that triggered those thoughts about how you felt at that point of time. They're not serving you. So I feel that it's all this, it's truly called micro.
Yeah.
Because it happens to you, it could just be like the 10 seconds. So it's a very micro moment, but it just needed that micro moment to kind of like set your tone for the rest of the day.
And if you're not aware of this micro moment of this self-talk, if you miss it, you will not catch it, and then you will have this feelings that you feel very bad and feel very lousy, right?
Yeah, and you don't realize it until the end of the day, like, oh yeah, how come I was moody? And then I was feeling, that's not quite right. And it's because of that particular thought that you didn't have. And you didn't catch it and you didn't nip it in the bud.
Wow, so meditation helps.
Yeah, so for me, it's about, every time I have something like that, it's about breaking that flow. So deep breathing. Yeah, so deep breathing is like a small little habit that I've learned increasingly to practice in the middle of my day. And if you do it anytime, it's easy. But once you start, your deep breathing, you have your counts of deep counting, breathe in and then breathe out the counts of 5. You realize that you stop whatever you're doing in its tracks. So you completely stop you disrupt that particular thought pattern. And after your deep breathing, you feel more calm, more relaxed.
Yeah.
And then go like, where did the thought go? Bye-bye thought.
You see, I like it. So right now, to counteract this bad micro habit of negative self-talk, once you notice it, you breathe in and out to like catch it and then make yourself feel better, right?
Yes.
So this deep breathing is a good micro habit that is serving you. Is this something that you're practicing? You're practicing now, right?
Yes, I am. And I think, of course it takes practice. I would say maybe like 50-60%. I'm not, it's not always every time I have a negative thought, I catch it. But hopefully I get better with it. But this practice of deep breathing is really helpful.
And I think that's the reason why I want to talk about this episode of micro habits. It's something that you do continuously, consistently. It's not like, okay, I have one good habit and it will serve me for the rest of my life, but we always will go back into the spiral of bad habit, and then noticing it and then doing this good thing again. So it's always it's a continuous practice, right? That's why it's micro. It's the small things that makes up into a big
they add up. Yes. Okay, next one, Maddy. What is your next top worst habits that you
negative self-talk is also something that I've written that is one of the bad habits I used to have, and I think what the top negative self-talk that I say to myself is like, I'm very 可怜 eh. Why do I have to do this? Why is it me?
Okay.
Yeah, and this is again in the parenthood and marriage days, right, where in the mind I just have this like imaginary scoreboard, like why am I doing this housework? I'm doing this housework 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but he's only doing this housework 1, 2, 3. This is so not fair. This is unfair. Okay, sorry. This now self-talk is. This is so unfair.
In your own words, it's your comparison-itis.
Yeah. This is episode 2.
I think so. Yeah. Sometime back, yes.
Yeah, but this micro habit of negative self-talk is really not serving. And I want to put this up as the top bad habit because, and similar to what you're sharing, right? When we have this negative self-talk, it makes us feel crappy, and then our actions become crappy, and then our day just become not good.
Yeah. How does it normally come about for you? Like the feeling of, hey, I'm doing more, I'm putting in more hours, I'm putting in more effort, compared to you. Like, what are you doing out there?
I think it is maybe in the midst of doing housework, like I say.
So you have the moments identified.
Moments of I don't know, cleaning the dirty table, putting the cup into the dishwasher, that kind of little, it's so little acts of chores, but that self-talk can just come in.
Yes.
And it's so easy to let it slip past. And to be honest, it was so many years of this self-talk that I didn't realize I have until much later, where similarly to you, I became a little bit more aware of what's going on in my body, what's going on in my mind, and then I realized that, wow, actually all these are really not good. And it's creating some kind of disconnection in a marriage.
Of course.
It's just a very small mental disconnection. But if these poor micro habits are not being addressed, imagine the kind of gap that it will create.
Of course, I think it's going to cause like more rifts in your relationship.
Exactly.
You may start thinking, the feeling of resentment may set in. You may start feeling like being unfair. Like what is it said, 可怜, right? You start taking pity on yourself, having a pity party.
Correct.
So how do you kind of work on that? Like, do you think you've moved on from that, the whole negative
Yeah, I think
thought
now
about?
being able to verbalize all these negative self-talk, I believe that I'm in a much better space already. And I think for what we are sharing is it's okay to have all these negative self-talk.
Yes, acknowledge them.
Yeah, acknowledge them. This is also what makes us who we are. But I
Exactly.
think it's an invitation for all of us to sometimes be still, right? And Jeremy shared some breathing techniques. And when we are able to give ourselves some stillness, then we can start to hear what we are saying to ourselves. And imagine if we can notice and be aware and then change that micro habit into a good one.
Yep.
Positive self-talk, which we'll talk about later. That can improve your relationship.
I agree.
Right.
Yeah. A lot of that happens in your mind, really.
Yeah. Okay. Is there another bad habit that you want to share?
Yes. Okay. So you've covered 2. I've got one more to share here. This is a bit more work related. Okay. One of the worst habits that I've learned is not being in charge or being in control of my calendar.
This I also shared before in episode 2. I think.
shared before, yes, and I think it's a little bit connected to my my episode in Malaysia. Some of you will have heard it in the previous episode. So I think the bad habit was just allowing people to come in and book your calendar. Yeah. And I feel that the calendar is really your scheduling. When the scheduling happens, it is where your task list happens. It is where you are in control of your time. So we know time is the most precious commodity, right?
Yes,
like once time is gone,
finite.
就没有了, right? So you do need to be very mindful of that commodity. And how you spend your time and delegate resources also speaks a lot about where your mental space is and where your mind space is. So if you're not careful about guarding and protecting your calendar, and you're blocking off time for yourself to do what you need to do, and you let other people control your calendar, people like to just book meeting whenever they see it. Get right. Any 1 hour, okay, I was squeezing one meeting right there. So that happens, obviously during that time, it happened so much that I realized I've got nothing, I didn't do what I wanted to do. So I had to do everything else that I need to do in the evening when I'm tired and I don't have the right energy. So that was a really bad habit.
And I really like this because what I'm hearing is, firstly, we embrace that time is the most important commodity. Do you say commodity?
Commodity, yes.
Yeah, most important commodity that we have. Is finite. It will run out once it's past. And
it's past, it's gone.
And just this scheduling and calendar is just really what is important to you. If you value health,
yes,
are you scheduling something to an action about health and a micro habit about health in
That's
your
right.
calendar?
Ding ding ding.
Ding ding ding. If you value relationship, if you value love, do you schedule little micro habits of actions of love in your calendar?
Right? That's a good one. That's a good
it's
one.
really about prioritize, knowing what is important to you.
Yes.
And making that into actionable micro habits.
Correct.
Something like that, right?
Yeah. If you plan it in, if it's important enough, you plan it in.
Correct.
You plan it in. You block time for it so that you don't allow yourself to be blocked that period of time. And you can always reschedule something else, right? Like whenever somebody asks for a meeting, an appointment. But at least you know that when you plan your week, you're in charge of a calendar. Your top things will get done already.
Yes.
Like you're rest assured they planned it. You set aside time for what's really important or urgent for the week. You got it down pat.
Yeah.
And then you look, okay, good. Where are the other things that I can spare time for? I can shift things around. But at least you know that you've got it covered in your calendar.
And this calendaring, scheduling is a new micro habit that I've picked up.
Really? For you?
It's quite new.
tell me
so
more.
now we are in the sharing of good micro habits. I think it's a good time to share. I think it only came to me sometime in the last 1 over year. I think that I have this sudden aha moment. I'm like, because we are employed people in a corporate setting.
Yes,
Depending on
we're salaried employees.
Yeah, we are salary employees. So depending on the function that you're in, usually in a work scope, we have our goals set every year. Okay, every year we need to achieve these goals, and then there will be this whole workflow that we know that by certain type, like by Q1 you need to achieve this, by Q2 you need to achieve this, and then there'll be all this very detailed scheduling that's in place. Whether it's a recurring meeting calendar invites or recurring, I don't know recurring so many things,
recurring
right?
task lists, to-do
recurring
lists.
task lists, exactly. And there was this one moment that I was asking myself, how come my work calendar is so full, so purposeful, but my personal calendar is nothing?
Oh.
And it was just some aha moment, like, okay, because I will tend to forget my family's birthdays.
Oh gosh. Okay, I got something to add to that. I have something to add to that.
Like,
yes,
okay,
yes.
I will forget holidays.
Yep.
I don't plan important things in.
Yes.
My personal calendar, which is like on my Google, the Google calendar, is like 空空的. Whereas my work is like so full.
Right.
And I start to like, okay, this is time I realized that setting what's important for us in our calendar is also very important. Like, how come I'm not, and who is responsible for that? It's actually just me, lor.
Yeah, it's just you.
Yeah.
It's really just you. Yeah, you are in charge of your own time. You own your own time. Yeah. So it's fun fact, right?
Yeah.
So whenever people say, oh, so we're going to end the meeting like 15 minutes earlier. I'm going to give 15 minutes of your time back to you. I'm like, hello, that 15 minutes wasn't yours to begin with. It's my time, okay? I get to control my time. Okay, but jokes aside, I have something similar about this. So also in relation to calendar, one of the habit that I picked up, I'm still working on it, not perfect at this, but is to schedule a pak tor time. Every week with my partner.
I love it.
Yeah, but I must admit I'm not very super committed to it. Sometimes I forget it, and I also must admit that right now he's the one doing it.
Wow.
So he's the one doing
adopted this good habit.
Yes, he has. So we I think every Wednesday night is our pak tor night. We watch a movie together. And I think it's just important to create a space and just go out of the house, right? And do something different. So it's more of the habit of going to a different environment to do something together.
Yeah.
So you don't lose that spark in your relationship, and you make sure that you still block off time for him or her. And I think that's very important. That's
I'm so guilty about this pak tor date night, right? Because I think we have been married for 11 or 12 years, something like that. And then
hey, what 11 or 12? What's something like that? Hello, better remember.
I'm bad with numbers. So I think we ever talked about, okay, let's do a date night. Let's do a recurring date night, monthly date night. But to be honest, this has never been done on a consistent basis. But this year, 2024, I have communicated this to my husband and said, hey, we need to put this date night as a calendar. We need to calendar it into our schedule. We need to commit ourselves to this date night. Because we're married for so many years, and yes, often we have this, okay, when we are free, then we sit down together. But I think there's a beauty in, if we value our marriage as a relationship, it's then important to put it into a calendar.
For sure.
So tonight we have our first date night of January 2024.
Wow.
Yes.
Exciting. Where are you going? What are you doing?
We were just having a dinner somewhere in town, a new restaurant, Peranakan place or something like that.
Nice. Yeah, just the two of you, right?
Yes. So this is a commitment for me this year to calendar in date night.
Yes. And I think that's really, really important to prioritize people in our lives who really, really matter to us and not take them for granted.
Yeah.
And I think just a simple act of, including that calendar, block out a certain night as much as you can. I'm not saying that it's cast in stone. Obviously, you have late night meetings that happen once in a while. Kids have different things going on. Life throws things at you. But I think as much as possible, stick to it. I realized that in the long run, it really helps, because it also reminds your partner that he or she is important, man. Just kind of putting it there and being committed to that. I think that's important.
Yeah, and if you're listening to this, I think this is an opportunity for you to just check in, like, okay, firstly, what is important for you? And I think, to be honest, most of us, what's important for us is just like family and friends, love and health. Usually these are the common top areas. And if these are important to you, check in with your calendar and your micro habits on a day-to-day. Take stock, do a spring clean, right? Are you taking actions, and are you investing micro habits that is aligned with what's important for you?
Totally. So, and guess what? On that point, on that habit on health, guess what? If you haven't got your gym time, or your I knew it was coming, right? If you haven't got your gym time or your like fitness time, whatever you call it, in your calendar, guess what? The likelihood of you not doing it is very high.
Yes, because there's always no time, right?
There's always no time. Something else will creep in.
Yes.
So if you don't block out time for that, guess what? You're not going to hit the gym.
And you can't blame the time. You got to take stock. You got to take responsibility.
Yes. Because you are the planner for the calendar.
Yes. You are responsible. So we'll talk about the second good micro habit as serving. And I think it could be something common for both of us. For me, is the importance of my morning ritual. Okay, and I don't want to make it like too big, right? I think let me just be very focused in putting this at I try to start my morning with an exercise.
Yep.
I don't do meditation.
I know you're an early riser, yes.
I will hope to take up meditation, but meditation currently is not my micro habit. But putting a physical activity as part of my morning. Because I really value this, whether is it going to the gym to lift some weights or just walking in the park. Because I think it helps to set the tone in my body. Like, okay, you basically you introduce some, what do you call that? Endorphins in your body, and then you feel good, you start the morning right, and then that really sets the tone for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
So I like this morning activity for me.
Yeah, I've read a lot about it, like the whole, like the 5 a.m. Club and people waking up early. I guess my question is, does it always have to be, waking up early and all? Because I struggle with it. Honestly, I struggle with it. But I do think the whole morning routine thing is helpful.
Yeah.
Like I can't imagine getting out of bed, right, and then jumping into a call.
Yeah.
That's the worst feeling ever, right?
I cannot imagine.
Yeah, I think it just ruin your entire day. So I really agree with the morning ritual.
Morning ritual, yeah.
In fact, I feel that is, so for me it's about waking up, and then I spend like almost 1.5 hours with Momo. Because I walk her.
And that is a morning ritual.
Yeah, that's my morning ritual, right? I got to walk her, let her pee and poo, and then I got to feed her. So that would effectively take like 1 to 1.5 hours.
Yeah.
And then that's done. I feel that then I can start going into like, the rest of my day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, to your question, I believe that everybody has a different body rhythm, different circadian rhythm or something like that. So not everybody is built to work out in the morning, and it's okay.
Yeah.
Some
Not
people
me
can go.
for sure.
That's why Anytime Fitness is open 24 hours.
Yes.
People can go to the gym like, I don't
So
know.
no excuse, like
1
really no
a.m.
excuse. Okay?
No excuse. So if you are not a morning person, it's okay. Nobody asks. I mean, you don't need to.
That is true.
But I think it's really understanding what works for you to start your day. And
Yes.
like for you work Momo. For me, I exercise. And there's another micro habit that I value that I do in the morning is I intentionally do not check my social media in the morning.
Ooh, that's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
I think even though my phone is with me, but I don't want to start my day consuming information. I don't want to start my day checking if anybody liked the story that I posted last night, because that's going to just clutter my brain space, right? So for me, I value this morning ritual to be really like a clearing of the mind space, getting that. It's like we just need to warm up like we are human beings,
Yes.
and we are sleeping for the past 6 to 8 hours.
Yeah.
Our brain requires that momentum to warm up.
Yeah.
So my way of warming up is making coffee, is going to the gym, and social media. I know that's going to be like too fast, too soon. So I do it like after my gym. So
I think so, and I think there's something about having like a clear, uncluttered mind at the beginning of the day that helps you set the tone for the day.
Yes.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm very guilty of that. First thing I wake up in the morning, phone, emails, Instagram, messages, WhatsApp. First 15-20 minutes, I think just clearing that. Sometimes I even do it with my half eyes closed, like, who's messaging me? And like, but you're right. I think that doesn't help. And I must admit, okay, some of my worst replies are done in the morning. So a little tip for you. Don't reply messages in the morning, Ken, because they'll be like grammar error lah, and then you have like half
because your body and your mind is not warmed up yet. Allow yourself the time to warm up. And I think there are some research to back this up, because I read it before, like it's how you start your day, like the first few things that you do in the morning is going to set the whole energy for the rest of the day.
Yeah, I think I will agree with that, and I can see why having the morning ritual is really important, and why it's such a good habit to have.
Yeah, it's good that it's good that you mentioned about this morning WhatsApp. Perhaps next time you have this temptation to check your habit, right? Okay, pause.
Yeah, I know.
Go walk Momo first.
Yes,
finish
exactly.
walking Momo already, then check your WhatsApp.
Exactly. Yeah. Must learn the way to hack it.
Yeah, find a way to hack. Yeah, that's why we're doing this micro thing. Like if you know that you have this tempting, this draw to you to go into this micro habit, right?
Yes.
I think be aware first, and then just.
Yes, being aware is the first step, and then like you think about how you can replace it with a good habit.
Correct.
Okay, so which brings me to my one of my good habits that I think I've had, and that's I think it's been really helpful for me. And this is interesting. This is one of the habits that I picked up during COVID. Yeah. So we have you heard of this thing called micro learning?
I heard from you. I think
for me, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me tell you a little bit. So micro learning means you're consuming or you're learning things, but in very short moments. So like you're taking short opportunities in your calendar in your day to learn, right? Because sometimes we feel like we don't have a huge block of time to really read a book.
Yeah, no time to learn, no time to read.
Yes, no time for self-development. So what we don't realize is there's actually a lot of micro moments in your day, and I've learned to identify these micro moments during COVID, right? So I'll mention a few. So for example, walking walking my dog in the morning. That's a beautiful half an hour learning right there. So what are you doing in the half an hour, right?
Yeah.
Of course, I think sometimes I also take the half an hour to just, watch the landscape and just watching.
There's a time and space.
There's a time and
just
space.
Be present with the nature, right?
Exactly. So sometimes it's like that. Sometimes I feel that, okay, I just want to just enjoy the half an hour, like, brain unclutter, enjoy the fresh morning air, and, look at Momo and observe how she's doing. Sometimes I feel that I want to have a bit of micro learning.
Yes.
So instead of having that, bombardment from social media, whatever, the first half an hour when I'm walking Momo, I'm listening to a podcast. So that's how I started listening to podcasts during COVID. Because I was walking Momo and I realized that a half an hour is like, oh, what can I do? Okay, let's listen to podcasts. And I realized it's very effective because for podcasts, you don't have to watch.
Yeah.
You're just listening and you're absorbing information while you're walking Momo. And podcasts are like, you don't have to listen to it. You don't have to give 100% attention, right? You can leave it in the background and you're still kind of learning something from it.
And what I like about you sharing about this micro learning is that we're just being very intentional and to be very productive with our time, right?
Yes.
And I think many of our listeners are also doing this. They drive home and then they listen to a podcast. And I know that some colleagues, they take a walk in the evening and then they listen to a podcast. This is you doing micro learning.
Yes.
It's just making full use of our limited time, which is finite.
Exactly. So I've learned to realize that there are lots of this. As long as you are a bit more observant, there are always micro moments like that. There's always a half an hour time in between when you're waiting for someone. There's always a little bit of time when you're taking a train, or the bit of time, like for example for me, it's about taking flights. Times like you're waiting for the flight, when you're on the flight. So there are a lot of, if you start noticing, there are a lot of these in between times. And these are perfect opportunities and moments for you to consume information that you want to. So I think this micro learning habit is really helpful in terms of stacking up your learning in the long run.
And I think what I'm hearing is just being very curious and very observant about how you spend your day-to-day minute.
That's right.
Maybe not minute, maybe every 5-10 minutes. How are you? Because I think it's so common in our very fast-paced society that people say, I've got no time to exercise. I've got no time to read a book.
Yes, 没有时间.
I've got no time to listen to a podcast. Like, we are aware that, everybody has got limited time. But then, are you willing to be so curious about how you spend your day-to-day hour? And then where do you find the pockets of moments, where you can do micro learning?
Yes.
Yeah. And just yesterday, I was having a facial. Facial is easily 1.5 hours. Throughout that facial, I was just listening to my class.
Oh, your communication class?
No, my nutrition class.
Nutrition class. Oh my god, I do that too.
Because I got it's very difficult to carve out a 1 hour unblocked time to listen to the class, right? So facial, I cannot open my eyes. Then I just listen. Sometimes I also listen to podcasts.
I do that for the last 20. When you do a facial, there's a routine, right? At the last 20 minutes, there's the mask. So when I'm putting on that mask, I'm like, okay, I got. So I said, before I put the mask, you wait. Let me get ready my podcast, my earbuds, and it's podcast time. For good 20 minutes, why not, right?
So I think some of a common question that people ask us, hey, Jeremy, Madeline, how do you do so many things? And this is our hacks. When you have your facial, when you do your eyelash, when you do your hair, these are important things to me. Then there's an opportunity for you to stack whatever that's important for you to listen and learn.
And it doesn't require extra time.
You just need earphones.
You just need to be prepared, like with your earbuds or whatever.
You have to plan it in, schedule it in.
And then be creative also in your consumption. So like if you feel that you can't bring a book wherever with you, it's podcast. If you can't do podcast, there's always different ways to consume your information and to learn about things. Just be creative about how you want to learn them.
Yes. Okay, I want to share one good micro habit that I have picked up along the years is doing things immediately.
Ooh, tell me
and the
more.
opposite of this is procrastination, actually. Because I was checking on ChatGPT.
ChatGPT, lifeline of our generation. ChatGPT.
I typed on ChatGPT. Send a list of poor micro habits, and then one of them is procrastination. I'm like, actually procrastination is a bad habit. So I think for me, a hack that I've learned is to do things immediately.
Okay.
For example, let's say, because I use RedMart a lot, online grocery shopping. RedMart is a lifesaver.
You're a huge advocate.
Huge advocate. So sometimes we're like, in my mind, I'm like, okay, I go to the fridge. There's no milk already. Then in my mind, I'm like, okay, I need to get milk. So there's a thought in my mind that I need to get milk. What do? I do it immediately. I whip out my phone, I put milk into the cart immediately.
Right.
So basically what I'm doing here is I translate a thought into an action immediately, because these are things that can be done fast and easy.
Right.
Because I know very clearly about myself. If I don't put into the shopping cart,
You'll forget.
I will forget.
You will forget.
Yeah. And certain things like, I need to pay somebody this amount of money. I pay it immediately. Because it's very fast, It's just online payment. You do it in 10 seconds and I do it immediately. Because what is the risk of not doing immediately? I will forget. So certain things, I realize that doing it immediately helps a lot.
Yes. I have a slightly different approach. So instead of doing, or depends. If the task is really so easy, reply a message or just like make a decision on something that doesn't require much thinking, I would do it. But sometimes if I feel that I'm not like in a time and space to do it immediately, for whatever reasons, I will actually schedule it into my calendar. So my
scheduling.
My calendar has my to-do things. So and sometimes, for example, and this may be a little good tip for some of you. So sometimes on weekends, we're just going about our weekend and we want to have a good time, just relaxing, enjoying. But sometimes a work thought comes up, right?
Yes.
And then you go like, I need to do that by Monday, or I need to remember to do it by whatever. So instead of let that thought bother you, just put that task work on that task, put it into your Monday morning.
Yes.
So when I start planning for my week on Monday morning, the task is already there, so I don't forget about it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, good. So this is a task I need to do. Now, when should I do it in the day, the week? Should it be today? Can I do it Tuesday or Wednesday? So at least you're not bothered by the thought on the weekend when you're already doing your thing. Because the more you think about it and you go, I have to remember it, then it gets in your way, right?
Yeah. So now we are back to the importance of scheduling.
I think it all comes together somehow.
Yeah, using the technology and the schedule to our best advantage, because it's easy to say things like, I forgot, there's no time, or I don't remember, I don't have the time. But then there is all these ways and technology that we can use to just hack ourselves to remember.
Yes.
Like in certain things, if it's so easy, do it immediately.
Yep.
If it requires more time and space to plan, then just put it into a to-do list. Like if you have a long list of work to-do list, on a personal basis, you should have your own to-do list too.
So it's a good habit. I think I can learn from that as well. So if you can do something immediate and don't procrastinate on it. Okay. I've got more to share. Should I share one more?
Yes,
okay.
Share.
So this is something that I mentioned in the previous episode about a social media hack. And now this was interesting, I learned something new about it. So I'm going to extend and expand the habit. Okay, so remember I told about how we can hack your Instagram. So let's say your Instagram, there's a function for you to go to your Instagram account. You look for, so what I do is I look for all the accounts that I want to learn from, and it could be about business learnings. They could be about wellness. They could be about physical health tips, wellness, anything that I feel is beneficial for me, information that I want to consume and I want to curate. I will follow the account. I will go to set notifications, and I'll make sure that their posts and their feed and their stories will all come up first on my feed. So whenever I go into social media on Instagram, the first thing I do is I see all these people that I'm following, and these are the first things that I'm watching or I'm reading. In other words, these are things that are content that I want to consume, right? Which is beneficial for me. So the part 2 is extend and expand. I recently learned from one of our colleagues, one of the younger colleagues. Okay, so this is really interesting. I didn't know that on Instagram, and I don't know whether it's a function that's available on Facebook or TikTok. But on Instagram, you are able to set a notification to trigger the app to send a notification to you on the amount of time that you spend and to take a break.
You mean you can set breaks?
Yes. So let me tell you how to do it. So you go to your Instagram account, go to your settings. Under your settings, you'll see an option called time spent.
Wow.
You click on time spent, then there are 3 options for you. 10 minutes reminder, 20 minutes reminder, 30 minutes reminder. Which means that if you're doom scrolling and you're doing mindless scrolling, which happens to us once in a while, let's admit it, this notification, if you set it for 10 minutes, it will pop up. You've been using Instagram for 10 minutes.
Hey, this is a
Good
very
time
good
to take a
micro
break.
habit.
有没有? Not bad, right?
Yeah,
Not
you
bad,
cannot blame
right?
social media for taking away your time. You can
No,
hack it
you
and
can hack it.
give yourself the reminder. I think what I'm hearing is, you value learning and topics like, I don't know, wellness and things like that. Because these are things that's important for you, you're setting your environment up for it.
Yes.
And in this case, is how the feed comes up on your social media, right?
That's right. And
It's
you're using technology to then help you put certain things in place. Yeah, so that you're mindful about what you're doing. So I found that really helpful. So I started doing that.
I really like it. Thank you for sharing. I'm going to do it immediately later.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank me later. Thank
the young colleague who shared with you.
Yes, I know. So a lot of things I learn from younger people. Okay.
Yeah. And I think, okay, so I actually have a little summary like with all this listening or sharing that we have done on the not so good habits and the good micro habits that's serving us. I think what is something that, to you, our listeners, can take away from. The first thing that you can do is firstly, ask yourself what is important to you. Right? What do you value? Again, back to the core values of like health or family or loved ones. What is it that you want to work on this year? For example, what are your priorities? And then number two, after you've identified, okay, your priorities, I think take stock of how are you spending your time in a day. And it can be really very simple. You just, I mean, there is downloadable timesheets, okay? Like every hour, like, okay, from the time you wake up, 7 to 8, what do you do? Write it down. 8 to 9, what do you do? Just really do 1 or 2 days of this journaling of what you spend with your time.
Yeah.
And after you write down what activity do you do in these hours, then you start to take stock. Okay, these are the things that's not serving me, I can remove. Oh, these are the pockets of time that I can do micro learning, I can listen to a podcast. Then decide. Then that's where, because right now maybe you are not aware of how you're spending your time. And it's fine because we're such fast-paced society, we don't know how we spend our time, and at the end of the day we realize that, oh my god, there's no time.
Yeah, which is why I really like that word you used at the beginning, intentional. Yeah, when you're more intentional about things, you're more in control of what you want to do and what you want to achieve. And again, please don't get me wrong. I think some people may be thinking, wow, you're all about achieving. You're all about in control. You're all about getting things done. I mean, we have time and space for chilling, for relaxing, for sure have. Right? So it's not like you need to be an overachiever and do everything. But what I'm saying is you just need to be a bit more intentional. So you can be very intentional about having your breaks. You can be very intentional about spending time with your family. Very intentional about setting time for work, having clear boundaries for work and home. So I think the point is this little micro habits that we are talking about go a long way in terms of helping you be intentional about what you want to do.
And like if resting is important for you, nothing is stopping you from putting 1 hour to be a do not disturb, your own me time.
Oh, you mean like on your
calendar?
On the calendar,
right? Because if self-care is something that you value for yourself this year, then put in there 1 hour of self-care. For example, it's just like you will schedule in your hair, what do you call that? A hair appointment, right? Schedule a time for yourself.
Yes.
Like, connecting with yourself. So I think let's do the first step of identifying what's important for you. Number two is like download those timesheet and be really very clear of how you're spending your day. Get familiar with how you're spending your day. Then you can do that stock check and task out thing, right?
Agree. Yeah. And find, maybe last thing I want to say, just find a system or a way that works for you. Whichever way works for you, whether it's Google Calendar, whether it's putting something in your calendar, or if it's about discussing with your family or your partner about what times can I do this, will you be doing this? So once you've done all of that, find a system that works for you.
Try it.
Then try it. If it doesn't work, tweak it. Once you've got it, make it into a routine habit, and it'll be something that would really help you in the long run.
Yeah. So now we come to the last part. Quotes.
Yes, our favorite part. We always want to end on with quotes. So I'm curious to know, Maddy, what's your quote of the day today?
Okay, so this quote is from the book that I read, and this book is The Diary of a CEO. This is the author is I think Steven Bartlett. Okay, cannot remember his name, but 是有 Bartlett 的啦. Okay, so this is it goes like this: the smallest seeds of today's negligence will bloom into tomorrow's biggest regrets.
Wow.
So again, the smallest seeds of today's negligence will bloom into tomorrow's biggest regrets.
Wow.
So the reason why I chose this is because it's linked to what we're talking about, micro habits. It's really about the small, tiny seeds, the small, tiny things that you're choosing to do or not to do that will become either your biggest regrets or your biggest achievements or goals tomorrow.
Totally. Because these small moments roll into something, right? They accumulate into something in the long run. So whatever you're taking steps towards something, these steps will add up, just like in fitness or in health. All these little steps of going to the gym every single day, the consistency adds up, and one day you can live better, you start noticing visible changes in your body. I mean, it's all of that, but it only takes place over a period of time.
Yeah, and it's over a period of little actions. Yes. What actions do you take?
Yeah. All these little actions mean a lot. I like that. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. And what is your
serious quote, huh?
Okay, what is your quote for us today? Is it the funny one?
Today the quote is not funny, but I think quite straightforward. Yeah, so this one is quite to the point, and it's almost directive. Okay?
You like it.
So the quote of the day is, don't think about what can happen in a month. Don't think about what can happen in a year. Just focus on the 24 hours in front of you and do what you can to get closer to where you want to be.
Wow.
Yeah.
And who is this quote?
It's so again. This is one of the quotes that I have from my Instagram folder. Remember, I've been saving all this and bookmarking all this posts that I read. So this quote came about because I was practicing the micro habit of prioritizing all these posts that come up. So this is one of the quotes that I like, and I saved it.
I like it.
So maybe a little hack for you as well. If you like some of these motivational quotes or quotes that serve you and you want to remember them, save it or create a story highlight, and you can save them. But find a way to save them so you can easily access them.
What I really like about a quote is that it's really not about the thinking. It's about being so clear about in these 24 hours. And again, we talk about time, right? I think like this micro habit is about time. What are you doing with your 24 hours? Are you intentional with it? And then, just start with these very small 24 hours before even talk about next week and then next year, right?
Exactly. I think there's definitely a time and space to plan. For sure, plan your week, plan your month, plan your year. There is. But I think when all that is done and you're living in the moment, you're living day to day, just, as much as possible, live in the moment.
Yeah.
Like, be present and give your best to whatever you're doing. Give of yourself to that moment. And you find that you're going to be a lot more happy and satisfied and productive as a person because you've really lived that moment and you're doing what you're supposed to do at the point of time, rather than your head at space being in the future or ruminating certain failures in the past. Being present and focusing on tasks in front of you, I think brings a lot of joy.
Yeah, and I hope that after this episode, you will look into what you are doing with the 24 hours that you have in your hands.
Yes.
It is within your control. You have full empowerment to choose and decide what's working and what's not working.
Yes, and hopefully the micro habits that we've shared help. Can we do something fun, Maddie, for this episode?
What?
You know how we always ask a question at the end of every episode, right?
Got me?
Yes, God. I mean, the question is from in the
Spotify.
In the Spotify,
yes.
Right? So we typically ask to people, like it, have learned something from it.
Yes.
I wonder if you can ask anybody to share, or whoever's listening, to share micro habits that work for them. That could be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or what is one habit that we have shared today that you will consider taking up?
Yeah, also can. What's something that calls out to you? Yeah. And
please share with us in the Spotify Q&A.
That's right.
Comments.
Yeah, the comments you can leave it leave in Spotify. Sounds good?
Yes, sounds good.
Okie dokes.
Okay, thank you. So we never introduce ourselves.
Well, never too late. So I'm Jeremy.
My name is Maddy.
And we are the Imperfect Rainbow.
Thank you and see you in the next episode.
See you. Bye.
Bye.